Breaking right now, everyone. President Trump talking to Reuters today about North Korea, saying he's not optimistic that talks with Kim Jong-un would actually do anything. And importantly, he's saying that Russia is helping North Korea avoid sanctions. He also would not confirm or deny whether the U.S. is considering a preemptive strike. This coming as Secretary of State Rex Tillerson issues a warning for Americans about the possibility of war. Watch.
I think we all need to be very sober and clear-eyed if that threat is growing, and if North Korea does not choose the pathway of engagement, discussion, negotiation, then they themselves will trigger an option.
Tillerson's straight talk. It came at a gathering of 20 nations on America's side during the Korean War and amid growing criticism over North Korea's sincerity, or shall we say lack thereof, in recent talks with South Korea. Joining me right now, Fox News strategic analyst General Jack Keane. And you and I have talked many times, General, about this, but it's escalating. It's escalating very quickly. Where do you see it going?
Yeah, well, Secretary Tillerson is obviously on top of the situation. He said it's a tenuous situation. H.R. McMaster, the National Security Advisor, he met with the Japanese a few days ago and also the South Koreans. And he says every day we're getting closer to war. CIA Director Pompeo on Fox just 2 weeks ago, who has all the information at his disposal, briefed the president on a regular basis, said the following: we're just months away from North Korea having their full objective capability. So what that tells me is we got to pull out all the stops now. And the fact that Russia is backdooring North Korea and helping them should not be a surprise to anybody. And for that matter, if that is significant help, no matter the pressure we put on Russia, it means that North Korea will likely escape any economic collapse and be able to sustain itself.
So our
brings us closer to a military option. I think some things we should do is make certain that all the other countries have shut down their trading. Make certain that China is doing everything it possibly can. And if they're not, then we should sanction China. Let's take the
so glad you said that.
Take the gloves off.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. You know, I talked to Ambassador Bolton about that. He's not in agreement with either of us. I think there is a huge opportunity. I mean, it's going to be painful. It's going to be painful for American businesses. Sure. But,
not as painful as the war.
Yeah.
And then there's some things that also we can do from the Department of Defense. I'm going to assume maybe we are doing this. But if we're not, we should conduct cyber attack against their entire information system and their command and control now. We should stop sending military families to South Korea with their troops. And we should be putting plans together to get those other families out of there. State Department should be putting plans together to get the 700,000 Americans out of South Korea. This starts to send messages. We should put on a table a naval blockade of North Korea. Shut every ship going in there down until we know what it is and what its cargo is. And we gotta get tough, because we're talking about just months from now. And listen, if there's going to be a conflict there, we're an ocean away with all of our capability. So I know the Pentagon is planning, you know, the kind of capabilities we have to move into the theater. But eventually, we're going to see some of that.
If we did something like put the naval blockade there, what does that signal to Kim Jong-un? Does that ratchet up his...
Yeah, the naval blockade throughout history has always been assumed as an instrument of war. It's an act of war. So he could take that interpretation, and therefore he could actually start the conflict. However, if he does that, he knows full well that we will destroy his regime. And it will never, ever exist again. So that is what would be on his mind. And I don't think, and listen, these kind of, every single option has got to be brought to the president. Leaders sit around the table. They lay out in detail, here's what the risks are associated with. Here are the choices that our opponent has available to him to do as a result of this action. And then the president at some point has to make a decision. But we're months away from a showdown with North Korea just based on the leaders that are dealing with this every single day and what they're able to say publicly to us.
So in other words, you would suggest that they start putting their ducks in a row so that if we are indeed months away from them having potentially a nuclear weapon,
then we got to be and we can listen. In my judgment, the best way to prevent war is to fully prepare for it, Trish. Let him see that.
Yeah.
Let him see that we're real serious. This is not just rhetoric. These are tangible actions and decisions we're taking. And to get inside his head that if you don't denuclearize, this is what's going to happen. It's not rhetoric. He actually sees policy decisions taking place.
Because you need ramifications for the actions. General Keane, thank you very much.
Yeah, good talking to you.